NBC 10 Breaking News.
We're following breaking news here at NBC 10. The search for escaped killer Danilo Cavalcante is over. That is what several sources are telling NBC 10. Taking a look at Skyforce 10 over South Coventry Township earlier this morning, Cavalcante has been spotted numerous times since escaping from the Chester County Prison back on August 31st. 4 independent sources are confirming to NBC 10's Deanna Durante, our Montgomery County Bureau reporter, that the escaped inmate has been caught. This has been a very difficult search. Let's go to Deanna now, live on the phone. Deanna, walk us through this, because law enforcement has been trying to catch up with him for 2 weeks.
We're still getting details as to exactly how this happened. Early this morning, we learned that they had tightened the perimeter around where they believed that he was, that overnight some information was developed from air investigative sources, whether it was planes or drones, but they were able to see some movement, I'm told by sources, in a very specific area of that perimeter. We learned the perimeter yesterday was about 2 miles, north and south, 5 miles wide, so a very large area there near French Creek State Park with a lot of tree cover. So trying to find some sort of movement there has been tricky, not just there, but in the other perimeter as well in southern Chester County. We've been told that about 8:20 this morning he was captured and he is alive. He is in custody. I am awaiting more details. I can tell you early this morning there was a SWAT team shift change, and they tightened that perimeter up with more members of the region SWAT team, some fresh team members that came in. Most of these men and women have been working 20-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, staying there, trying to make sure that they find him out in the heat. And so apparently maybe last night, with the way that the weather changed, some of that heat technology was able to pick up on Danilo Cavalcante.
Durante, our Montgomery County Bureau reporter, has been following this from the beginning. So is NBC 10's Randy Gyllenhaal. I understand we have Randy Gyllenhaal. He's been live in that area all morning long. Randy, first tell us where you are and what's going on.
Yeah, so we're back at the high school where a bit of a staging area was underway, but just a few minutes ago, we were down in the ravine in the very wooded area near where this capture happened. And this is where the focus of law enforcement had been for quite some time over the last few hours, in this area of Prizer Road and Route 100. And that is near where the capture happened. And I can tell you the law enforcement presence the last 4 hours or so was extremely intense. We saw troopers parked about every 20 or 30 yards out with their long guns, focused on an area near where a possible backpack was found overnight, possibly linked to Cavalcante.
Hearing the moment the word went out that Cavalcante was caught, just got our hands on the radio call. Take a listen.
The radio room, Chester County government, and the various other agencies working on the prisoner escape are proud to announce the subject is in custody.
There you go, proud to announce. You can probably hear the relief there.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks, after hundreds of officers have been out scouring the woods, standing in the rain, standing in 90-degree heat, 90-plus degree heat too, wearing, the tactical gear that they were wearing here, because this was a very serious, dangerous situation, potentially, not just for them, but for people, that were living in these homes that heard, hey, you got a shelter in place, lock your doors and windows, we're closing schools around the area.
Deanna, you've been in contact with law enforcement sources for days, for weeks now, and I'm sure that you heard that relief as well.
I have, and quite honestly, some of the surprise. There were units that had been on standby all night long. There were units brought in this morning. They were just getting on scene. I was talking with one source just as they were at that tightened interior part of the perimeter, getting set up and ready to go, and saying, look, we think we've got him in here. And then it was minutes later that I started getting phone calls and checking with people and finding out, in fact, that they do have him. We're starting to see images that are believed to be coming from law enforcement helicopters, aerials. And we're starting to see just how many people are surrounding Danilo Cavalcante. It's believed he's wearing some sort of eagle shirt. I've been asking sources, where did he get this? Because we do believe for the last 24 hours or so he was shirtless, that he ditched that T-shirt and green sweatshirt we saw him on the Ring camera, and that he was walking around the woods the last 2 days without any clothes. When you look at that image, you see, well, maybe did somebody give it to him? Did he find it somewhere? he was very good at picking things up from people's porches and backyards. We haven't had an explanation yet as to where he got that backpack and where he got that duffel bag. And we did hear last night that they were forming an area not far from where he was captured because they found a backpack. One source telling me he was found near where this backpack was found. They're still not sure, is that the backpack he had? But there was a backpack on the ground. Someone spotted it. We know from our crews that were in the area outside the perimeter last night that there was a heavy law enforcement presence heading to that area once we heard about that backpack being found. And that's also the same area that I've now heard from other sources that, yes, that heat technology picked up that movement and that overnight they tightened up. They were able to narrow down that area, which, again, 2 miles north and south, 5 miles wide. That's a big area, and it's not an open field.
You know, we want to show you exactly what's taking place right now. Skyforce 10 is live. This truck right here is part of a convoy, we understand, with Danilo Cavalcante in custody. Now, whether he's in that particular truck or not, we don't know, but it's part of a larger convoy here. It is an armored vehicle for sure. Looks like some sort of tactical vehicle. In the front hood, you see police labeled right there. This is such a relief to this surrounding community here. In just the past 24 hours, we learned so many different things about his movements, that he spotted along a wood line, to the extent that he, had a .22 caliber rifle. And lest we forget, Cavalcante was convicted in the first place for first-degree murder for stabbing and killing his ex-girlfriend in front of her children. And that took place in April 2021. The conviction took place late this summer. Sentenced to life in prison without the chance for parole last week, and chance for parole. And the other thing, too, is he broke out of prison within 2 weeks. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. You're alone and she's scared. Can you talk a little bit about this? This was 2 weeks. This was a long time. This wasn't hours. This was 14 days.
And it's not just the staying in your home that he could be out there. Keep in mind, you had tactical units in people's driveways, in their backyards. We would see, especially in southern Chester County, the parents that were putting their kids on buses.
Right.
Lawn chairs in the driveway. They didn't want to let kids stand in their own driveway alone.
Wow.
Schools shut down. You would have people wake up and their Ring cameras or their doorbell cameras, whatever brand they're using, they get the alerts, and they would look outside at midnight and see horses with state police in their backyard. So it wasn't just the fear, it was seeing these things. I was talking with some parents in Chester County that said it's really hard on the kids, especially down towards Kennett when they reopened the schools but had the police in the parking lots to try and explain that to the children.
Wow.
I mean, what we're seeing in these last several years, of course, is very different than probably what our parents or even we grew up seeing. I think the only time an officer came to school was to explain to us about stranger danger, and now you had tactical officers in the parking lots of elementary schools. So I think if there's a stronger word than relief for the people there that were watching this happen, but also what surprised me were the amount of people who felt he's not going to be here. He's going to go away. He's not going to come here.
He was captured at 8:20. We're expecting a news conference from state police and other law enforcement at 9:30, so 28 minutes from now. That's going to take place at the firehouse there in Kennett Square, where most of these news conferences have taken place. Randy, you have spent at least a week on this perimeter, watching police go in and out, watching police try to close in on Cavalcante. What's it like there right now? We saw the one agent in the background of your shot give the thumbs up.
Yeah, and this has become a bit of a gathering place here at the intersection of Route 100, just near the high school that was closed down. People coming out, just watching the law enforcement parade that is leaving the site of the capture. People are clapping, waving. It is a happy moment here in South Coventry Township. I've actually got Tom Peacock. He's one of the folks who lives near the search perimeter. Tom, you were here yesterday. It was pretty tense. Describe what it was like today when you got word, and how did you find out?
I think a guy over next to me got a text message first, alert. Yesterday, kind of moments of excitement with cars starting to speed by and this, and then nothing going on, and then announcements via Facebook Lives and all that. We got him here, and then to actually see it confirmed this morning was, a lot of naysayers about our state police in the past couple of days, and it's nice to see that we kicked him in the teeth and he's back in the cell.
Some aerials from what we believe are state police choppers of him surrounded by 30 or so, I counted in one photo, of law enforcement officers all in tactical gear. this has been a very long week. You know, the first time I heard that radio call from Chester County Dispatch, you know, even though I knew he was already in custody before hearing it, I felt the relief. And you can imagine for the people that live not just in South Coventry, but the people who live in Kennett Square, the people who live around the prison, the people who are unsure, was he going to cross borders? Was he going to go north? Was he going to get out of the country? That he is where police said that he was, and despite it taking a long time, they have him. And one of the most important things here is without incident. You see him walking in these images. He's standing there in what we believe still are those prison-issue pants. The work boots that police described were stolen, and what appears to be a long-sleeve Eagle shirt. We know that he ditched his sweatshirt and T-shirt the night that gun was stolen from the neighbor's property, not far from that search area. So as of last night, they still believed him, even out in this rain, to be without a shirt.
Back to Deanna Durante. Deanna, I understand you've got some new information for us.
Tell you that a state police dog is going to be eating very well tonight. Apparently, after they had that heat signature, you had SWAT teams surrounding that area, and it was a PSP police dog that detected that movement and went in. I've just gotten that confirmed that it was PSP SWAT members that were around. There was also your mutual aid SWAT teams around. Teams from Montgomery County had just arrived on scene about an hour before he was captured right outside that perimeter, and strongly believed, according to my sources on the ground, that he was in there. And then that dog spotted that movement and took him in. I'm also getting some pictures taken by law enforcement on the ground that show him being loaded into that Bearcat without a shirt on. He's cuffed behind his back. It looks like it's a parking lot nearby. From the photo, it looks like it's around Route 123 area, but that he does not have a shirt on. So even though he's captured on the ground, I'm looking as SWAT team members are surrounding him in what appears to be these brown work boots, these green pants, a very filthy sweatshirt here. It doesn't look like it was, maybe it's something that he found somewhere, but when he is loaded into that Bearcat with state police surrounding him, he is shirtless, and it appears as though they've given him a pair of shorts as well. So he's definitely got a change of clothing.
This is a little bit south on Route 100. I want to show you where we are. This is a tractor supply store. It's called Little's. You can see all the John Deere equipment here. Back over that way, you can see some of the tactical units still here. Part of the units that were responsible for this capture, according to our own Deanna Durante, thanks to a dog, one of the K9 units as well. And it was back in this gravel area toward that wooded area in the back where some of the action was happening. Unclear exactly where the capture was, but a lot of neighbors who live in the containment zone, they're coming out now, clearly thrilled that this is now over. I've got Kathleen and your daughter. What's her name?
Kira.
Kira, and you guys live within the perimeter.
Yes, we're right on Coventryville, so we were in the center of it the last few days.
You came out here. What did you see when you got here?
Today we actually passed them coming down Route 100 with Cavalcante. It was actually pretty emotional. It's a sigh of relief that they've got him.
Yeah, you saw that big tactical van that he was inside, clearly an armored vehicle. Tell me about your thoughts the last 2 days when the gun came into play, especially since you have young children in the search zone.
Yeah, that was easily the most terrifying night in East Nantmeal for us. By that point, you don't know where he is. It's very dark. We don't have street lights. You can't even see out your own window if he's in your yard. So it was too scary to walk to the driveway and take her and leave. So we just kind of hunkered down, listened to the helicopters, cops every feet outside, and hoped they were protecting us, which they did.
What you're looking at is the caravan, the vehicle where Danilo Cavalcante is right now, pulling into the barracks as we speak. This is the parking lot.
A law enforcement official confirmed to the Associated Press in reporting that officials used thermal imaging, new information now from an aircraft, to pinpoint a possible location on the ground. We're going to keep it on this, and we're going to commentate this. There he is, shirtless, walking out, surrounded by officers. Doesn't appear that he's injured at all, walking under his own power. Of course,
face
handcuffs.
might have been a little...
Yeah, handcuffs behind his back. Walked right into the state police barrack. After
14
14 days, there's the culminating moment for these law enforcement officers working 12 hours on, 12 hours off in hot weather, in stormy weather, and just being vigilant and resilient for the sake of the public. Nobody was hurt, and it appeared there even a peaceful arrest of Cavalcante, all things considered, that he was armed with a .22 caliber rifle. This is an image and a picture that thousands, if not tens of thousands of people in our area and people across the country have been waiting to see for 2 whole weeks. In fact, some of these live pictures, look at the folks, residents, you can imagine
They've
people gathering around the barracks to see this site. Right now, Governor Josh Shapiro is up on the podium. We're going to listen in as he begins to address reporters, this area, and the nation. Let's take this live from Kennett Square in a firehouse.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be able to report that thanks to the extraordinary work of law enforcement officials from here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, our local leaders here in Chester County, and from our federal partners all across this nation, shortly after 8 a.m., our suspect was captured.
Sarah, and shortly after midnight, there was a burglary that happened within the perimeter. State police went to investigate. They didn't find him there. The DIA thermal imaging aircraft, they'd been using that for heat signatures.
Right.
They had to leave because of the storm. There was lightning. But they ended up moving in quietly. Cavalcante didn't know he was eventually surrounded. He attempted to crawl away with a rifle. That's when the state police canine was then released on him. He still tried to resist. Police forcefully arrested him. We do know that Cavalcante sustained a minor bite wound.
Yeah, and at this point, he is still at the State Police Barracks in Avondale. He's going to stay there. He's being processed there. That includes an interview with him. The types of questions that he's being asked, we don't know. But we do know at some point he will be transferred to a state correctional facility. We don't know which one, but this is a big difference here because he was at the Chester County Prison, which is run by local officials. He is now going to a state correctional facility as soon as all that processing is taken into account.
Here in this grassy area near the wood line, as well as in these large logs behind this tractor company, is where much of this capture actually went down, just off Route 100. To give you some context, that's the far eastern edge of the perimeter they set up. I want to zoom in here and show you the location. You can see this is the kind of terrain that they have been talking about for 2 weeks now. Really dense wooded area. You see that brush. And then if you look over to the left here, John, we'll pan over, you can see these logs. We're told in part of this capture he was trying to get under these logs as well to try to make his escape before police were able to move in with those tactical units. And of course, that canine dog you heard so much about just there that helped in this capture. We also spoke with the manager of this John Deere tractor supply company. He and his employees watching as this whole thing went down. Take a listen.
So we were watching from the loading dock, and we basically just saw them storming the, checking the tree lines, checking the stream, and out of nowhere, everybody started to congregate back by the shed, and here they were already bringing him out. And then we watched him basically walk him up. One camouflage trooper had his gun, his rifle, and then they were walking him up, and they basically, EMSs kind of worked on him in the parking lot, and they loaded him up.
Back here live, more of that dense wooded area just off Route 100. Speaking with the manager of this company, he also told me that his employees, had obviously known about this situation for days with the containment zone and having to be extra precautious. But they said overnight there was a property behind this tree line where around 2:30 this morning there was some sort of either sighting or 911 call placed, as well as the discovery of a backpack. So they had an idea, especially when those troopers started flooding this area right around 8 o'clock this morning. Just before that, that's when he realized this was going down, this was real. And then, of course, they just watched from right there. That is the loading dock, if we can zoom over and show you, where they watched this entire capture take place. And then he was put into that armored vehicle and then driven south to the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks in Avondale, where Cavalcante is now being interviewed according to PSP, and then eventually transferred to a more secure state facility.
It's a great day here in Chester County. Our nightmare is finally over and the good guys won.
Shortly after 8 a.m., our suspect was captured.
Tactical teams converged. They were able to move in very quietly. They had the element of surprise.
This has been a concerning and trying time for each and every one of you in the region. And we want to thank you for your support of law enforcement and for your support of this effort that led to this capture.
The breaking news, the intense search for escaped killer Danilo Cavalcante is over. Authorities caught the man who's been the subject of an intense manhunt for 2 weeks this morning. We've got live team coverage of the end of the frantic search. Now that Cavalcante has been captured, we'll tell you how he has been captured, what authorities are saying about the moments leading up to him being taken into custody as well. Good morning once again, everyone. I'm NBC 10's Keith Jones.
And I'm Erin Coleman. The search for Cavalcante put our entire region on edge for the last 14 days and has dominated national headlines. Let's show you a picture of Danilo Cavalcante as he was apprehended just before 8:20 this morning. You can see he was wearing an Eagles sweatshirt at the time of his capture. Now we want to show you this map. It really gives you an idea of the entire area where Danilo Cavalcante was captured this morning in South Coventry Township, Chester County. You can also see the Chester County prison where he escaped exactly 14 days ago today. NBC 10's Brian Sheehan was at the press conference announcing Cavalcante's capture. Brian, walk us through how this whole thing went down. We learned a lot.
Yes, Erin, we certainly did. As you know, you heard District Attorney Deb Ryan say, our nightmare is over. Our community can finally regain normalcy, and we can all regain a collective sigh of relief. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens, who really has been the face of this nearly 2-week-long manhunt, walked through really the crucial developments that began around midnight that ultimately led to Cavalcante's arrest shortly after 8 o'clock this morning. Now
listen to the reverse 911 call alerting people to Cavalcante's capture.
This is a message from the Pennsylvania State Police. The search for Danilo Cavalcante is over. The subject is now in custody.
The subject is now in custody. Take a look at this video of police bringing in the rifle. There it is, that Cavalcante stole from a garage. You see it right there? We told you about the .22 caliber rifle with a scope that was stolen from a home, and the homeowner shot at Cavalcante. Didn't hit him, but shot at him. PA State Police issued a warning that he was armed. Well, that was the gun that he had. Wow. NBC 10's Deanna Durante. She's been all over this story since it broke.
That's right. She was the first one to alert us of this, thanks to her 4 law enforcement sources. Deanna, thank you for joining us once again, for sticking around. Also, speaking of that .22 caliber gun, there's no evidence that it was shot, which is remarkable.
Police say he had been surprised that he did try and get his hands on it. He was crawling through the brush with it when he realized that he was surrounded. But, you know, the biggest part of the outcome here is that the best part, no one was really hurt. Yes, he had some injuries from the dog. No injuries from his 14 days on the run, but that no law enforcement officer, no civilian, that was a big concern for police, more than their own safety, was that
2 long weeks of searching has ended in an arrest. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline London.
And I'm Johnny Archer. As officials have said, police caught escaped prisoner Danilo Cavalcante this morning without a single shot being fired.
And we have the message that was relayed to officers in our area over police radio moments after Cavalcante was caught.
The radio room, Chester County government, and the various other agencies working on the prisoner escape are proud to announce the subject is in custody.
And you just heard that call right there. Not only was this a sigh of relief for authorities who had been working around the clock for 2 weeks, but also for the Chester County communities that have been on edge for days, hoping police would catch him. And that moment came this morning.
This is a message from the Pennsylvania State Police. The search for Danilo Cavalcante is over. The subject is now in custody.
And just a few hours later, NBC 10 was there when officials escorted Cavalcante to an armored vehicle that is transporting him to a state correctional institution in Montgomery County. And you can see him come out of the Avondale State Police Barracks cuffed, shackled, and barefoot.
NBC 10 was the first to report this capture this morning, and this afternoon we have team coverage from the burglar alarm around midnight that triggered what ended up in his capture. To what's next for Cavalcante. We begin with NBC 10's Deanna Durante, who was the first to report Cavalcante in custody. She has the timeline of how this all went down. Deanna.
Well, you know from NBC 10 News at 11 that there was a lot of activity in and around that perimeter last night. We now know more about what that activity was, that police were searching for evidence there, that you had a home burglar alarm go off, and then you had aerials, a thermal signature that showed police they were in the right area.
Shortly after midnight, a series of events started to unfold.
A major shift in law enforcement inside the perimeter late last night had police in place. And as those officers were moving in, checking out items and suspicious activity, a home burglar alarm sounds. Once police check it out, they don't see Danilo Cavalcante, but more police continue to move into that area and isolate a smaller portion of a wide search zone.
Close to 1 a.m., picked up a heat signal that they began to track.
That heat signature, a major break, showing signs of life in a heavily covered forest. The area near North Prizers Road was surrounded, Bivens says, but then that weather moved in, forcing air units to the ground. Police and agents remained, keeping a tight grasp on the area until more police could check it out.
And shortly after 8 a.m., tactical teams converged on the area where the heat source was. They were able to move in very quietly. They had the element of surprise. Cavalcante did not realize he was surrounded until that had occurred. They released the dog. Some of our PSP CERT members were also there, had him surrounded. The dog subdued him, and team members from both of those teams immediately moved in. He continued to resist, but was forcibly taken into custody. No one was injured.
And then residents started to get notified of the capture here in the Chester County area. You heard that reverse 911 call, relief for many, many people who picked up the phone and heard that this was over. Now, what happened here once Cavalcante arrived? We're told that he was given a change of clothes. He left in a hospital gown. His clothes, obviously, something he'd been wearing for 2 weeks. They were wet. They were dirty. There were some bloodstains on it from an injury he got from that police dog. Investigators attempted to interview him with the assistance of a Portuguese interpreter. It's unclear if they were able to get any of the information they were looking for, what he was doing these last 2 weeks, if anyone helped him. We also know he was given a meal before he was transported to a state prison. In Avondale, Deanna Durante, NBC 10 News.
Deanna, thank you. And the search for Cavalcante began on August 31st when he escaped from the Chester County Prison in Pocopson Township. Then on September 2nd, he was spotted on Lenape Road. 2 days later, he was spotted again at Longwood Gardens. 5 days after that, Cavalcante stole a van from Bailey's Dairy in Westchester and drove to Phoenixville, more than 20 miles away. It was found abandoned in East Nantmill Township. Then on Tuesday, a homeowner in South Coventry Township spotted Cavalcante allegedly stealing a rifle from his garage. And finally, this morning, police surrounded Cavalcante and captured him in the area of Route 100 and Prizer Road, and communities are now breathing easier knowing that this dangerous man is back behind bars.